Welcome to the Conscious Radio Network. Become enlightened, have fun, and tell all your friends and family to share with everyone they know. You can watch us on YouTube and Rumble while following us on Facebook, or find us on X, Instagram, and TikTok. Our podcasts can be found on Libsyn, iHeart, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and more. Most of all, remember to go to our official website at consciousradionetwork.com for past episodes, future shows, and scheduling. We also want to welcome our international audience. Don't stop now. Enjoy the community. Subscribe or follow today.
This is the Conscious Radio Network.
Good day, everybody, wherever you might be on this spaceship we call Earth. Welcome to Conscious Radio Network's The Seance. I'm your host, Reverend Dr. Paul Meckes. If this is your first time tuning in, please click subscribe, like, share, comment, and also don't forget to follow us wherever you listen to your podcast by searching The Seance. Today, setting yourself free, healing from trauma. Her mission is rooted in the understanding that trauma can slightly shape our lives, affecting our emotions, actions, experiences, and even our physical well-being. Her personal voyage led her down the rabbit hole of pain, a courageous expedition into her past that allowed her to confront and conquer her own traumas. As a result, this journey of self-discovery allowed for the emergence of her intuitive healing abilities. The triumphant transformation from victim to healer serves as a light of hope, demonstrating that wounds can be turned into wisdom, scars into strength. Let's welcome to the seance today, Joy Baker.
Thank you for having me on your show.
You are very welcome. Very welcome. How did this journey start?
About 30 years ago, when I was on the racetrack with horses, I'd spent all my life with horses up until then. And, we get that feeling, when you get that feeling that there's got to be more. And I love the horses. I didn't tend to leave the horses, but I just knew there had to be more. And plus I wanted to make more money. I mean, there wasn't much money on the racetrack. Yeah. And so I started looking for more things and got into reading books about the power of the mind, understanding belief systems and such. And everything started to make sense to me. And just like I started getting the answers. And just after I started on the path, I wrote a vision. In fact, it was June 1995 when I wrote the vision. And I decided then that I wanted to be a coach and, support others, because I was already seeing how it was, supporting myself. By then, I left the racetrack and the horses. And actually, I walked away from my whole life. The horse is an 8-year relationship. Everybody I knew was on the racetrack. I didn't know anybody else other than that. So I was 33 and just walked away from my entire life at the time, and really just dived deeply into this and found, other jobs, survival. I just called them survival jobs. I always knew I wanted to do this full time. And then I found the book, The Celestian Prophecy. And that's when I started to learn about energy and how energy fields, as we're interacting with somebody else, energy fields interact. And it was like it kind of just brought it all together. We are connected. And then since then, I've just dived into the world of energy healing. And then I started to remember, some trauma I'd gone through. And I remembered about 8 years of sexual abuse and figured it was around 10 years growing up. But those 8 years, if I hadn't been ready for them, they were actually in 2 4-year periods. And I had a gap about 5 years between them when things were relatively quiet. I didn't really have memories in that. And if I had remembered, like the second go round, what I remembered the first time, the trauma and the abuse and what I went through, I wouldn't have been able to deal with it. So the mind is really very powerful at also keeping us safe. That's what I learned on my journey. And yeah, a lot of bullying growing up, speech impediment and epilepsy growing up. So I got bullied a lot because when you fall down and talk funny, that happens,
Mm.
from kids and such. And then with what was going on at home and the horses, actually, I figure they saved me. They just kept my sanity and kept me grounded and clear. And, as, uh, they prevented me they gave me a focus. So
Yeah.
I've actually never said this out loud, but it just came in. I actually owe my life to the horses, really. They kept me, going while I got through all that. But yeah, so it's been a 30-year journey and very, very intense. And there were times, when I remembered those repressed memories, I would get knocked down. I know a lot of people feel like this, life knocks you down, and I'd get knocked down. I'd have another memory. I just feel like things were getting on track. And I was like, oh my gosh, how many times can I keep getting back up? But
Yeah.
it was that vision of wanting to make a difference. Like I knew I wanted to make a difference. It was like it was my whole beingness, like in my gut. And so I'd get knocked down and I'd get back up because I knew I was actually, since it came in, I'll mention it. It was one time when I was suicidal, and I've actually never said this before. It was one time when I was suicidal, from the memories and that. And I said to God in that moment, I said, if you just, see me through this, I will make sure I would do everything I can to make a difference.
Mm.
And I completely forgot that. I don't know why, but I remembered it now. Somebody needs to hear it.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I just wanted to make a difference. And sure enough, eventually I committed to, okay, it was time, and started my business full time.
And it's amazing too how when we get kicked down to the point where we feel we want to quit. And it's not necessarily just trying to get back up again. It's just trying, like you said, when it gets to the point where someone wants to end their life because they're just tired, they're in that point of hopelessness. And that segues into the next question, especially on your website. On that front page, you talk about courage.
Mm-hmm.
And courage is not the absence of fear. Explain what your definition of courage is.
Taking action despite the fear. So the fear, so many people will wait till the fear goes away. And I've had people say to me, well, once the fear goes away, then I'll take action. But the fear doesn't.
Mm.
And I've seen that with my business. When I go to expand it, more fear will come up. But what you do, I've got a saying that the more fear you have, the more courage you have. So it's redirecting your focus to the courage within you. It is within you. What if you ask yourself questions, if anybody's feeling stuck, or, the fear is so great? Ask yourself questions, or ask Archangel Michael. I mean, they're there to support us. Direct me to that courage. Help me find that courage within me so that I can move past this fear. So you're not asking for life to be easier. You're not asking for the fear to go away. You're asking for the courage to be awakened within you. And, the non-physical benevolent light beings, they're there to support us. So call on them and ask them to direct your focus to your attention, to your courage. And often you'll find that in your heart. So if you want a physical place on your body, go to your heart and ask your heart to awaken, and the courage in your heart and your entire self to awaken. And when you do that, it's like the fear starts to diminish.
Mm.
And you're fine, you're able. It's not easy. It's not easy,
No.
but you can do it. Anybody who's stuck there, you can do it. If anybody who's watching this, we know the courage is within you. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been drawn to this. So
Yeah.
redirect your attention to, it's like acknowledge the fear. When you acknowledge the fear, it doesn't have the power over you. So you acknowledge the fear and then redirect your focus to courage, and ask that courage to guide you forward and show you in the next steps to take.
Mm-hmm. And I've heard some stories from some friends and colleagues too, when they were in those moments in their life, whether it's abuse, especially abuse. They're in a relationship, and a fearful relationship. They're in fear, and they're in fear for so long, they just get tired of feeling that way, tired of feeling that fear, to where I've had enough. They throw down that gavel and are done. They fight.
Yeah, and that's sometimes what happens where you've had enough. I've had that happen probably 5, 6, 7 times in my life where the fear was so great and I could feel it was like 24/7, the fear was there. And finally I said to the fear, you know what, fear, I'm not going to live my life like this. So come on, just bring me the worst you've got, fear, because I will get through it. And every time the fear dissipated. It's like when you face a fear, it's not there. But it can seem, there's such a fear narrative in this world. We're marketed this fear narrative to be scared of everything. I mean, you can find so many things to be scared of.
Yeah.
But you know what? When it was actually in 2021, I really looked at this and I went, you know what? The non-physical benevolent light beings are here. They're supporting us. And so I put my faith in them like 100%. And since then, like I have the fear of taking action and being seen in a greater way. I used to have a vow of invisibility. I wanted to stay invisible. But as far as the fear of what's going on in the world and will I make it through, I have complete trust in them.
Yeah. Now, if we trying to look here, what are some common signs of trauma that people may experience that they may not recognize?
If you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling stuck, chances are there's trauma or something there, or, conditioning, which is, trauma, like abusive conditioning that's keeping you stuck. Doing things. I actually had that just happen last week where I had made an appointment and they confirmed with me and it turned out like I'm thinking it's this day and it's another day. Well, it was because of something that had happened. Like I got my days completely mixed up. I'd looked at the calendar. I'd okayed the email and everything else like several times, but I had my days completely mixed up because of some trauma. It was family trauma I'd gone through a couple of years ago. And just completely messed up my mind. To me, I was going like it just seemed clear, but I completely messed up the dates on that week because of the trauma I'd gone through previously. And so if something like that happens and you're going, why did I mess up? Be kind to yourself. Just be kind to yourself because you're here to have a human experience, and trauma is what it does, it gets stored in, your mind body. And your mind, if somebody is in a fog or if they're not understanding clearly, like with me, it's techie stuff. Once I figure it out, that I'm not tech savvy at all. But once I figure it out, it's like, my gosh, that was a push of a button or like two buttons. But all that trauma is there. And it can take me sometimes weeks, months, years to figure it out. But once I do, it's like, oh my gosh, that was so simple. So yeah, it's almost like it can put a block in your being able to see something clearly. And called an antidote to that, if you will, is being kind to yourself, realizing we're all human, we're all going to mess up, we're all going to, look at things differently or understand things differently. But that's part of the human journey, the human experience. So be kind to yourself.
Yeah, it's amazing how trauma can affect just the simplest of our cognitive abilities. I mean, maybe it is trauma, but when we get, we have a hard day at work or we're in a relationship and we're so trapped in it mentally, and we keep replaying that trauma over and over and over again in that fear, and then it starts to disable us. Where now our cognitive abilities are like a friend you haven't seen in a couple of months. They come by, they're like, "Dude, I don't even recognize. Are you okay?" Oh, fine.
Yeah, and you don't even recognize it.
Yeah. How commonly is trauma linked to our ancestry and or our past lives?
I think it's I think it's like 100% like, because we receive everything from our ancestors, because we receive our conditioning from our parents or primary caregivers. So thoughts, beliefs, behaviors, emotions, what we believe about ourselves, others, and such. They receive their conditioning from their parents or primary caregivers. So everything is passed down. And I call this, what we're going through right now, the Great Awakening, because all this chaos is causing people to awaken. And so we are unraveling like what our ancestors have passed down. Like, things have changed a lot in the past 20, 30, 50, 60 years and such. And so we're unraveling all of that right now. And that's why there is so much chaos. But I believe it's the specific trauma and abuse maybe is like what that's your experience, but the general pattern of trauma, or because it's linked to belief systems. And like, I had a client say once that she would always hit her kids. She would beat on her kids. And she said one day, it was just a normal thing. It was the country she came from. Everybody did that. Everybody said, to be a good mother, you have to beat on your kids, which is crazy, but that was what she grew up with. And she went to a meeting one day for mothers, and they said, don't beat on your kids. She said, that day I stopped beating on my kids. But the belief was, you just beat on your kids, and that's how powerfully, now we know. And so that's a form of trauma, and it just keeps getting passed down, because those belief systems are, and the roles men and women have played, and men women didn't even get at least here in North America, couldn't get a credit card in their name without the husband's approval until I think 1976. So look at all the financial abuse. So things have changed a lot. But yeah, I remember when she told me that, I was like, oh my gosh. But she said, the day I went to that meeting, I came home, never hit my kids again. But it was just trauma. Yeah, that was my reaction. Well, when she told me, no, I was like, okay. But afterwards, I was like, wow.
Man. Yeah, because I've heard of a story, and several of them, not just one, but multiple real life stories of like a child. Well, they're like an adult, and they're having these traumas. There's something. It's like something they're facing in their life that they can't get through. There's something. They go to a hypnotherapist or a therapist in general, and then they find out that it was linked to their mother, because their mother was abused while they were in the womb.
Mm-hmm. And
when they went through this therapy to clear that energy, to get through that energy, everything was good. They didn't have that trauma anymore. They didn't have those phobias, those things like that. So what do you feel about the link between mother and child and these
absolutely, 100%. We're picking up when we're in the womb. We're feeling the frequencies of whatever the mother feels. So if she's happy, if she's sad, if she's being abused, if she's being hit, anything like that, the fetus is they're in the frequency of all of that. So they will, as soon as they're born, even before that, they're feeling the fear already. They wouldn't put, of course, they can put words to it, but that frequency of fear and trauma and the
chemicals.
Exactly. They're, the fight or flight. All of that. They're feeling all of that in the womb. So it just gets passed down. And so, these are just being passed down, but because of what's going on right now, and yes, it's creating a huge amount of chaos all around the world, but people are waking up, and this is starting to, like, mental health. It was never talked about, even 20 years ago, never mind 40, 50, 60 years ago. It's being talked about now. And so, that's absolutely and then, so the mother is feeling whatever is in her environment. And unless she's a single mother living alone, but if she's living with somebody and he's not treating her very well, then all that's being passed on to the child. You come out energetically, because we're the makeup of our biological parents. And then in the womb, it becomes even more imprinted. And then when you're born, it becomes imprinted even deeper. So absolutely, it's all passed down.
Wow.
So generational trauma.
Yeah. Yeah. So before we move forward, where can people, for those who are watching, can see it scrolling on the bottom of the screen, but where can people find you and what they can expect by going to your website?
Website. So yeah, it's Courage in Action. So courageinaction.com. And if you want some free stuff, there's a free Messages from Spirit ebook there. And it's both, so it's written, channeled messages from Spirit. And there's also about an hour and a half of MP3s. And there's some other in the shop, there's some other MP3s and, my services and such. And the way I work is, so I don't use a specific modality. It's just going deep into the unconscious conditioning and identifying any core beliefs, stuck emotions, trauma and such. And then we follow the stream of consciousness. But I also work from the picture. So if a person is kind of doesn't have a lot of time or doesn't want to sit down to make, phone call or just prefers, person can also just send me their picture and see your picture. Everything is energy. It also, your picture includes your energy signature. So we just record that and then I send them the audio recording. So some people prefer that because it's just really convenient.
Yeah. There's a process in storytelling that can aid people into the healing process. Explain, when it comes to like groups, sitting down in groups, and a lot of people are afraid to like sit in groups, and like you said, people would rather do this one-on-one.
Mm-hmm.
Have you gotten groups together to where people can sit down and kind of like story tell and be able to this being able to assist in releasing the trauma?
No, I've never done that. What I do hold Q&A, group Q&A calls once in a while, but that's just by the phone. Like it's not even video and such. And people will share their what's going on, but then I'll go into doing some clearings, and that's by phone and again just written. But as far as like getting people together, either in person or over, Zoom or something like that, I haven't done that yet. But yeah, there's a lot of power in hearing other people's stories and hearing what they've gone through. Like I am an example of, if anybody can, if I can do it, anybody can, because I was so shy. I had taken a vow, and I didn't realize this till I started getting on, the shows and podcasts and that, to be invisible, because that's where, if you're abused, that's where safety is being invisible. Yeah. So putting myself out there, talk about busting through fear and, just everything. And I had no desire to be seen and heard, but here I am. I'm talking to people and I'm making a difference, which was my passion. So anybody who's saying, but I can't do this, I don't want to be seen and heard or this or whatever it is. And my story isn't exactly the same, but if I can do it, you absolutely can do it. I know you can.
Yeah. Yeah. I've noticed the same thing too, is I've got that, it's that weird Jekyll and Hyde thing. And there's quite a few people, public personalities, that share the exact same thing. Maybe you can pinpoint and definitely validate that. Is, I admit I have a social phobia. I don't like to go out into public. I don't even like to go to Walmart or the grocery store. I usually try to go at like as soon as they open, early in the morning, when there's nobody there. I'm the first one. I get my stuff. I get out. I get home in my comfort space of home here, back in the studio or whatnot. Yet I'm a public figure. I'm sharing these stories. I'm talking to people. I'm having interviews, and if or I'll go out and do workshops, in front of a group of people, lectures. So it's like that Jekyll and Hyde.
I think that's a really good point you just made there, because I think people see, speakers and those that are giving workshops and that and saying, well, it's, they must be an extrovert or they enjoy doing it. But I think really it's a passion. You want to make a difference and you want to speak your truth. to see the world, to ever have humanity in a space and place of oneness, or even some, closer to oneness, we've got to get out there and speak our truth. So for anybody who is considering this, who wants to be a healer, who wants to speak their truth, what if now is the time for you to say, you know what? Yes, there's fear. There's all these reasons I can't do it, but it's time. Like, if you wait for everything to fall in place, or if you wait to stop being shy or wanting to stay invisible, you're going to be waiting the rest of your life. Just take action and start whatever it is. Get a website up, or go on podcasts, or start speaking your truth. Find some avenue to speak your truth. And we need that humanity. We need that right now. We need people to speak their, authentic divine truth, because people are waking up and people want to hear that. They're thirsty for the knowledge now. So yeah, that's a really, really good point you made there. You don't have to be an extrovert or even want to get out there and be, speak and be heard or be seen or anything. You could have, just like I did, have a vow of invisibility, but just know you want to make a difference. And that's your passion. And I talk to a lot of people who have that within them, but they're just stuck. Just take the action. Because once you take that first action, then other actions and other ways, the how starts to become revealed. And take the first action, whether it's sending an email, contacting somebody, researching something. It doesn't have to be big. But yeah, if anybody's feeling stuck right now, take an action in the next 24 hours. Commit to it. Yeah. Even if it's small, just take some kind of action towards your dream.
Yeah, write it down. And writing it down even over and over again, and saying it as you're writing it down.
Very powerful. I did that actually the first year I started this healing business, and I wrote down a whole bunch of things. It was on 2 pieces of paper, and there were all these statements, the kinds of clients I wanted to have, everything else. And then I forgot about it. I tend to have a bit of a messy desk. And so it got, under papers. And then about a year later, I moved and I came across it and I read it. There was 2 pages, doubles, both sides. And they pretty much all come true to some extent. And all I did was, write it all down. I read it out loud, I believe once or twice, and then just put it aside, completely forgot about it. Yeah, that's very, very powerful tool there.
Wow. So we're gonna do a 5-minute
group
process before we close the show.
Okay.
After the group process, I'll ask you one more question and then we can part ways. But I just want to let all our listeners know that we don't often do this, only because normally the guest forgets. But she remembered a very important thing at the end of the show is to have everybody center themselves and calm themselves and take a deep breath, maybe a few, close your eyes and reconnect. So I'll allow you to take it away.
Okay, so it's in the moment, so I don't know what's going to come up, but we'll start with a breath. So yeah, just allow yourself to receive that life force energy. There you go. As deeply as is comfortable and you're at ease, just receive that life force energy. And pause and let that be released. Let all the stresses of the day just be released so that you're more and more at ease. Your mind, body, spirit, soul is at ease. Okay, so we're going to do a little bit of clearing first of all, because the first thing that's coming up is resistance. It's a resistance to allowing yourself to awaken to higher consciousness. So let's simply witness the resistance. Just witness that resistance. It's not good or bad, right or wrong. We're simply witnessing it and allowing that to be released on all levels, mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, cellular, and throughout all time and space, and sent to the light. And as it's sent to the light, it's transformed into light. There you go. There, your whole self relaxed. Okay, there's some happiness. With that happiness is a little bit of anger. Now, this is a very manipulative energy. It's been trying to prevent you from being happy. So again, we're just going to simply acknowledge that manipulative anger, because then it no longer has any power over you, and let it be released. Mainly from your first and second chakra, those areas, that's where this manipulative energy had been. But we witnessed it and released it. There you go. There's more happiness bubbling up. Okay, and there's a child. Oh, that's so powerful when the child shows up, because this is like all parts of you ready to be happy, to feel good, to be at ease. There you go. Okay, we want to go to your nervous system and ensure your nervous system is also feeling calm, at ease, relaxed. And yes, nervous system, it's okay for you to feel safe. In this moment, just give yourself permission to feel at ease, to be at ease, and to know that you are safe. And as you feel safe, that opens up your creative energies. That opens up your higher consciousness, awakens your higher consciousness. There you go. There, your whole self relaxed, and your mind, your brain, both sides of your brain relaxed. So now we're going to ask both sides of your brain, almost like they're looking at each other. And as they look at each other, messages start to flow easily and effortlessly across both sides of your brain. So your brain is being balanced. And as your brain is balanced, those energies of balance, of ease, flow down your body and your entire body. Your energies, your endocrine system, everything within you is being balanced, centered, and grounded. And you feel at ease, inspired, healthy, creative, joyful, feeling whole and complete in your mind, body, spirit, and soul. So shokabasa, wala sa shoko, so shokabasa babaka, awala sa, so shokabasa, tokabase babaka, awala sa, so shokabasa walaka, wala sa shokabasa walaka, tukabase babaka, awala sa, so shokabasa walaka, wala sa shoko, awala sa shokabasa walaka. There you go, my friend. Namaste.
Namaste. Wow. I felt that.
Awesome. Yeah, that's the divine energies that are coming in.
Yeah. Woohoo. Hopefully everybody enjoyed that, for those who are going to be watching. Yes. Yes. And if you have any questions for Joy, definitely chime in, comment if you have any questions on the YouTube channel or our Rumble channel. And go visit her website at www.courageinaction.com. So before we go, what would you like to leave us? That was a big takeaway, but I'm going to ask again. What would you like to leave our audience as a takeaway for today? Words of wisdom.
Know that you are beautiful inside and out. The light is within you. The light is within you. It's wanting to shine. You have a desire to be shine. You are a magnificent being. You are here for a human experience. You're not here to be perfect. You're not here to understand it all. You're here for a human experience. And so be kind to yourself. Have compassion for yourself, kindness for yourself. Choose self-talk that supports you, supports your health, encourages you, because you are here to have a human experience. And so appreciate yourself and appreciate that, because you are amazing.
Absolutely. Yes. Wonderful. Namaste, Joy. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having
today.
me on your show.
You're very welcome. And welcome back anytime, too.
Okay.
Give me a holler and say, hey, I got something new coming up. I'm doing a new, you're going to be going on tour. Any fairs that you're going to be going to, metaphysical shops, fairs, and Anything?
No, I'm mostly online, but I do have a 33 days of healing like program or workshop coming up.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, that's on my website. So
Okay.
it tells
right.
more about on my website, but that's a 33 days of healing program.
Cool. Cool. All right.
Thank
Sweet.
you.
Joy, you have a wonderful day.
You
And
too.
thank you, everybody, for watching the Seance on Conscious Radio Network. And until then, we will see you next time.